You need to be doing things in parallel so that the feedback and the signals you're getting from failure are also increasing and amplifying exponentially. Being comfortable in your own skin is by far the most important soft skill that I've learned throughout the course of my career. Adaptability. It is defined as the new competitive advantage in this very serious article from Harvard Business Review, which I'll be honest is a little over my head. It is linked to the show notes below for those of you who are smarter and more elitist than I am. And it goes through and talks about a few scenarios in which adaptability can be very useful for businesses and are in fact essential for businesses to survive in the modern global economy. But from an individual scientist perspective, this also makes a lot of sense. The first one is the ability to read and act on signals in a timely manner. You can hear a lot of businesses as they're trying to understand how to scale up their advertising and market to the right people. They would use different advertising platforms, for example, running Facebook ads, and they will see their business go up initially because they're reaching new demographics of people. But after a period of time, their audience and their number of clients is plateauing, really figuring out why. And it's only after a few months of running the same ads across all the platforms where they realize, well, hold on, we're actually wasting money on Facebook ads. All the people that we can reach through this marketing avenue has been exhausted. Let's pivot and try something else. If they've read the signal of the plateauing client base and went in and looked at the analytics about how many people are being reached through Facebook ads in that particular quarter, and they got that information a little earlier on, they could have saved a lot of their budget for marketing that quarter. The same applies to doing experiments. How will you know if a failed experiment is failing because you're not asking the right question, or if it's failing due to like a technical problem you did while setting up that experiment? And I think it comes down to doing a lot of things in parallel so that you're engineering the feedback into the design process. So instead of saying, I'm going to do one experiment this week, and depending on the result of that one experiment, I'm going to go and do a second experiment next week. You should really be doing maybe not 10, let's say 3 experiments in parallel, each of which have something slightly different about them. And you will get 3 times the feedback in that same amount of time than just doing one single experiment. And you can engineer that process to collect feedback and react to the signal so that in week 2, you've got a lot more information to make that decision than if you're just doing everything in a linear fashion, one experiment after the other. You need to be doing things in parallel so that the feedback and the signals you're getting from failure are also increasing and amplifying exponentially. That ties, of course, into the ability to experiment, and not every business will have the appetite for risk that is inherent within experimenting all the time to see what processes might work a little bit better. We do this all the time in science. Every time we go in and do our day job, we are experimenting, but some experiments are riskier than others. Some experiments use reagents that are either very rare, maybe come from an animal model that took 2 years to develop, or use a drug that's so expensive that you only get one go at it. If you are not trying something completely out of the box with regularity, if you're not factoring that into your design process every week, every month, every quarter, then you're actually doing yourself a disservice, because some of the most interesting leads in science and innovation come from unexpected avenues of thought and just trying things out to see what would work. The same could apply in business. Is your team always playing it safe? Are you delegating a part of your budget to just trying new things out every month? Because if you're not, you can get very quickly entrenched into a standard operating protocol that suffocates and stifles innovation. And if your competitors are more game and they're more welcoming of risk, then they will be outcompeting you on an avenue that you don't even know exists before you know it. So we talked about leadership, we talked about time management, we talked about communication skills, we talked about adaptability. The final soft skill that I believe is most important to succeed as a scientist, or really as anyone on the cutting edge of any industry, is this. You have to know who you are. Being comfortable in your own skin is by far the most important soft skill that I've learned throughout the course of my career. And many of the leaders that I work with and respect, it is very clear they know who they are. The tides will change. What is currently in vogue will not be stylish or fashionable or even politically correct to do or say in the next month, in the next year. You need to know what your values are. You need to know what is important to you, what is your priority, what is your vision statement, and what is your value proposition as an employee, as a boss, as a leader. This is something that only you can come up with of your own accord, and no one can take it from you. And in the face of change, in the face of volatility, in the face of different kinds of signals that you're interpreting from your own experiments or from your competitors or from the market, if you don't know who you are, then you are no use to anyone. You will just be like a weather vane swinging back and forth, and people won't be able to interpret the signals of your leadership because you yourself won't know what the direction of your leadership is truly going to be unless you know who you are. That is something that could be a lifelong pursuit. But what I would recommend, especially for early career academics, is don't just spend your entire life on work. If you are defined by your work will let you down. Your work will disappoint you at some point in time. Or you are, at the end of the day, is that embodiment of work, then you're not bringing your full self into the workplace either, right? You do need to understand who you are if you take the work away, and the values that exist within your personal life need to bleed into your work life as well. And it could be as simple as having a hobby that is in some way related, yes, to your work, but not at all required as part of your workplace. And what you find enjoyable from the hobby, what you think is valuable from that skill set, that will inform your worldview and your vision statement. For me, after a lot of reflection, I am fundamentally a creative person. I infuse creativity into everything I do, into the teaching, into my style of communication, into my art design for thumbnails, into how I edit and shoot these videos, in any kind of solution that I like to implement, and also how I talk to and mentor people. I need a creative element to spark and inspire me. And I think that in turn has sparked and inspired the people that I talk to and the people that I teach. That is infused in every part of my work, and that informs my value proposition for employees. So unless you know who you are, you will not have that complete toolkit of soft skills, and you will not be a successful leader in your domain, and you won't be able to find success as a scientist or in whichever industry you find yourself in. I'm Jack. Hope to connect with you again in the next episode.